This is the Raw Weight Podcast with your host, Matt Pierce. Me. These are stories that are often overlooked by the mainstream media. This is you and me taking a journey through life and everything we find interesting. Come on, I'm Matt. Let's take a trip. Let's have a conversation. Boy, it's a conversation today, isn't it? Man, I kind of opened up a Pandora's box on YouTube with this conversation of, is Corpus Christi ghetto? Yeah, that's an interesting conversation. I didn't think it was going to spark that much of a controversy, but apparently I've gotten a lot of, shall we call it, fan mail from folks here in Corpus about this. And wow, man, I was not anticipating that it would get this much feedback. Hey, I'm Matt Pierce. This is the podcast version of The Raw Weight. And as you know, we get into stories and conversations and topics often overlooked by the mainstream media. I am here in Corpus Christi, Texas, the city that I wrote about. You know, they say don't shit in your own backyard, don't shit where you eat. I'm not hating on the city. I'm not. But check this out. While I was doing some research for this, I came across this thing that said it was Googled. Is Corpus Christi ghetto? It's a fair question. I think people probably search that for most cities. I don't know. I didn't look that. I'll be honest with you. I did not research that part of it. I probably should have, but I mean, you could probably Google, is Abilene ghetto? And it'd probably show up. Or just Abilene, Texas. And somewhere down the search, it would show up, is Abilene ghetto? Now, I don't know. Abilene seems like a pretty nice town to me. But regardless, I asked this question, is Corpus Christi ghetto? Okay, well, apparently I'm not the only one asking this question. So I decided to dive into it just a little bit. Now, okay, let's just say this. Ghetto is considered a derogatory term. I mean, like everything these days, right? I mean, everything you think of is considered derogatory. I mean, okay, let's face it. Okay, so who cares? We're going to offend somebody. Who cares? Okay, that's the world we live in. That's America for you. Everybody gets offended these days, so piss on you. Okay? Beyond that, pop culture has made this term very popular. You know, is it ghetto? Do I live in a ghetto? Yeah, of course. Maybe not. Who knows? Okay, so I asked this question that other people were asking. Is Corpus Christi ghetto? Possibly. We learned a lot about this throughout. I learned a lot through this whole thing, this whole research. Like what is a ghetto? Webster's defines, and I get into this in the article on mattpierceblog.com if you want to take a look at it, is a portion of a city which members of a minority group live because of social, legal, and economic pressure. To think that a city largely itself would be ghetto would be unfair, but I have often compared Corpus Christi to Detroit. Almost since the day I moved in here. 5 years ago. Though I have very close ties to this city. I grew up about 80 miles north of here in a very small rural community of Floresville. However, Floresville wasn't a ghetto. It was a rural town. I mean, it really was. Now I think there's a little bit more spillover from San Antonio. But I think back then when I grew up, Floresville was just a normal place. When I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, Corpus was still a pretty happening place. Now, in the video, I kind of touch on this a little bit, the whole Oscar Wilde coastal the Lavaca pipeline thing, the whole controversy between the city of San Antonio and natural gas, and kind of how Corpus Christi played into it. It was kind of collateral damage, if you will, in this debacle, you can call it, in this spat between Oscar Wyatt, the legendary oil man here in Texas, and Crook, if you want to call him that, but he's a pretty good guy. But there was a spat between him and his company and the city of San Antonio. I think largely Corpus Christi was caught in the crossfire of that. Now, spam blocked. Okay, whoop-dee. Now, that being said, Corpus Christi has not rebounded. Okay. And I want to take a look at this from kind of a 30,000 foot view, like we do everything. And I know this isn't kind of what most of you were expecting to hear today when you tuned in here, but let's take this 30,000 foot view of Corpus. Okay, let's get this whole big view. Corpus Christi can be a very beautiful city. But like anywhere and everywhere, it has its problems. Corpus is a postcard destination. It really is. Corpus is a beautiful postcard destination. The problem with Corpus is it's a disaster. I mean, and I don't think there's any one person. I don't think there's any one person to blame for this. But Corpus Christi is a disaster. It doesn't know whether its hair's on fire and its ass is catching. I mean, and the problem is it's been in a free fall for so long that it doesn't know what's happening. And they don't know how to stop it. Now, I think to a large extent, San Antonio was in a much similar situation when BRAC, the Base Realignment and Closure Commission, closed Kelly. I do. And there was some back and forth there about the future destination of of San Antonio. But San Antonio was proactive. They thought outside the box. They realized that they put their eggs in that military basket. They put all their eggs in that one basket. And somebody dropped the damn basket and all the eggs broke. Okay? They thought the unthinkable wouldn't happen. And it did. Luckily, I think there were some wheels in motion there that might have kicked into gear pretty quickly. They got new industry coming in there, like Toyota. Corpus has largely failed to realize, seems like anyway, that it has a potential. And I think it has a potential to overcome this stigma of being a ghetto. But I think you have to ask the question, what is Corpus Christi doing to overcome this? You can say, oh, we're trying to attract new industry, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that. Problem is, they're stuck on one industry. They're stuck with one way of life. Oil and gas and the damn port. Okay? At some point, you're going to have to stick the finger up these people's butt and really get them to understand that what they're dealing with here is a cancer. Okay? That what they're dealing with here is a real problem. And they need to quit catering to one industry, one segment of the economic spectrum, and they need to start thinking outside the box. I mean, you got to go after some big players. And I know they're sitting back saying, well, we're trying, Matt, we're trying. Well, you're not trying hard enough, and you're not thinking outside the box, because if you were, you'd be getting them. I mean, you got to go after some big investment. I mean, massive investment. I mean, look at some things like Amazon. You know, well, we got this little old distribution place over here that came in. That's great. Now let's go after some big bucks. Well, we just put in Gulf Coast Growth Ventures over in Portland. That's a big one. That ain't shit. That's chicken shit. I mean, really, I mean, that's... Let's go after the big pile. Well, let's think outside the box a little bit. Let's look at some other methods. Let's go after some tech companies. Let's go after some other things other than energy-related stuff. Okay? Let's go after, or, you know, this, which overall plastics is a energy-related thing. I mean, it's a petroleum product, right? I mean, so let's think beyond this, okay? How do we get some of these other exports brought into our port? How do we get some more industry brought here? How do we look at things like SpaceX, maybe Blue Origin? How do we get into the satellite deal? You know, here's a problem. We have Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We have Del Mar College. A lot of these people are graduating and they're moving out of town. Why? Because they can make more money elsewhere. Okay? Truth. If I'm a college graduate and I've got all these loans and I've got all this debt from graduating Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, buddy, I'm not sticking around. I'm going where the paycheck is. So, by default, the economy here is staying pretty blah. Okay? And the truth of the matter is if you're visiting Corpus Christi, if you're from, I don't know, Stephenville, you say, well, I'm going to Corpus. You're really not going to Corpus. You're going to Port Aransas. That's a fact. I mean, you say you're going to Corpus, you're going to the coast, you're not coming to Corpus Christi. Very few of them are coming to Corpus Christi. Another thing I'm seeing and that I've learned is that Corpus Christi is lacking investment. It's true. I mean, Corpus Christi is lacking some serious investment. I mean, I think you just look around and you see that everywhere, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure you do. You know, I think you see, you know, let's just, and I'm not picking on them by any means, but let's just say the Omni Hotel downtown, right, on Corpus Christi Bay. Beautiful hotel. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And it sits right there on the Marina District. It has these, as they bill it, luxurious hotel rooms. I mean, really? Not really. I mean, there's maybe one or two rooms there on the end cap of that hotel that are really luxurious. Everything else is pretty basic. I mean, it's a Holiday Inn type place. I mean, for what you're paying for this damn thing. Okay, and then you walk into the lobby of the Omni Hotel and this thing is outdated. I mean, it's 475 guest rooms that's outdated. I mean, because there's no competition. I mean, there's no real competition. They are just selling the name. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. They're selling this Omni Hotel brand, but they're getting people to pay for it. But the thing is it's really not offering much. It's really not. I mean, the truth of the matter is it's not offering much. The Omni Hotel is pretty basic. Okay, let's just take this Republic of Texas restaurant, which just recently was named one of the greatest views in Texas, right? Probably is. It's a great view. But now here's my experience with it, okay? If I go into that restaurant, that Republic of Texas restaurant, the very top floor of the Omni in Corpus, I am met with a pretty nice restaurant and this loud freaking piano with a bar in the middle of it. Okay, so you have this really nice restaurant with this bar, okay, and this loud sucking piano that just, and this big mouth singer that just sucks the life out of me and kills my desire to enjoy my $200 meal. Okay, it's a fact. It's a nice restaurant. It's nice. It's got a great view. I love it. But then you hear, you know, the piano playing loud, just obnoxiously loud. And if you know me, you know that I enjoy music in the restaurant, a nice, soft music. I don't enjoy a bar. Okay? If I want a damn bar, I'll go to a damn bar. If I'm paying $200 for a meal, I don't mind a little piano music. I don't mind a little, you know, relaxation. But I don't want that to be the focus and the distraction. So when I leave there, I'm ready to write a 1-star review and say, hey, you know what? I had a great steak, but the ambiance of this place was shit. Okay, and then if I end up going back to a room, okay, let's just say I got a junior suite. I got chairs from the early 90s, late 80s. I mean, this is, you know, maybe the only upgrade they've really had are the televisions, and that's because they had to. I mean, this place is like retro. I mean, that's cool if you're like the TWA at JFK, but I mean, this is not cool. I mean, you're the only... But, now, I'm going to quit hating on the Omni Hotel because that's kind of what I'm doing. Because it is a nice hotel, but it's old and out of date. I mean, it's 1980s. Okay, we've established that. Okay, so, there's no incentive for the Omni to really upgrade or to do anything. Because there's no competition. Why isn't there any competition? Because everybody bitches about competition. Nobody wants there to be any competition. So, you get the powers that be. I mean, their conference rooms are so boring. It's unreal. I mean, but then you get some real competition, some outside investment dollars to bring in some money and some development to Corpus Christi. Then the locals do what the locals do. They vet the living shit out of them, find every reason in the world why not to allow them to invest here, get them to change their mind about investing here locally, and bada bing, bada boom, they say, you know what, screw it, we're going to go somewhere else. Problem. And locals start doing what locals start doing. Well, this guy's just no good, y'all. He's a scam artist. Is he a scam artist or is he just better than you? I mean, that's the real question. Is he a scam artist or is he just doing a little bit better of a crook than you? I mean, obviously you don't have money if you're not some kind of a crook. I mean, right? That's kind of obvious. But I dive into this in the article on the blog, mattpierceblog.com. I get into that a little bit, and I talk about these investments, and you can kind of see where things are going. But the truth of the matter is that locally we block outside investment because we want to keep that investment here, unless it's from an energy company. If it's from an energy company, we say, oh, come on in. Well, okay, you know, I mean, and so basically when you have these pools of investment, right, and this is what we've learned by researching this article, is that when you have these local pools of investment, these local investment pools, and it's 5 or 6 people locally that are doing all the investing, they get comfortable with that, and the city gets comfortable with that. And they just basically keep it right there within the family, right? It becomes inbred. It's inbred investing. Some people call it Arkansas investing. But that's kind of how it happens. So that's one component of it that we've learned. Okay, the other component is expansion of the port. I understand you have to expand the port, but here's the thing. The damn thing sits basically in the middle of town. Corpus was a series of mistakes, right? When a plane crashes, it's not one thing that causes the plane crash. It's a series of mistakes, right? Okay, with Corpus Christi, it's a series of mistakes that's probably happened since the original design phase. I mean, so you build this city around this port, and granted, they've done a little bit of expansion towards the city's south side, but the truth of the matter is the touristy areas are right there around the port, okay? So, 2 things here. One, not if, but when an incident happens at the port, not if, but when, on a Saturday morning, you have some tourist downtown. They have no idea how to react when there's an issue, unless maybe they come from Houston or another industrial area. But the truth is, most of these people have no idea to act. They have no idea how to shelter in place. You get a nice north wind blowing in here. That shit blows right towards the Omni in the downtown area, right? Okay. So, bada bing, bada boom, you have a problem. Okay. It makes for a nice ambiance. The ship's coming into town and all this and that, right? It makes for a nice ambiance. But the truth of the matter is it's not really the whole North Beach idea. I mean, you can build that up all you want, but in the grand scheme of things, you still have that port right behind you. Okay, and that's not the port's fault. That is not the Port of Corpus Christi's fault. It's just the way things were. The city built up around it. Okay. So I think you have this to look at. But so I think there's this multifaceted thing that's going on here in Corpus Christi. Is Corpus Christi ghetto? Well, it's kind of unfair to say a whole city is ghetto, but it's possible. And there's a lot of functions. Hey, we're running out of time, but visit my blog, mattpierceblog.com. There's a link to the article on there. Take a look at it. Let me know what you think. Leave some comments. Go over to YouTube, watch the video, check it out, and let's just see what you think of it. I'd be curious to know. I think it's a really interesting thing to look at. No matter how you look at it, I think it's an interesting thing to look at. So, anyway, hey everybody, take care of yourself. Is Corpus Christi ghetto? You be the judge of it. I don't know. You be the judge. Let's talk about it later. Take care, everybody. You've been listening to the Raw Weight Podcast with me, Matt Pierce. The journey and fusion of where everything comes together. These are stories and conversations often overlooked by the mainstream media. If you'd like to sponsor me, this podcast, our YouTube channel, or our website, drop me an email, matt@mattpierceblog.com. We'd love to talk with you. This has been my show. Thanks for having a conversation. Join me next time, and let's go on a journey together.